doing something August 28th. And the craziest thing is a friend of mine. She plays at Carnegie Hall every few months, maybe 6 months to a year. And she said, "I want to go to New Bedford. I want to go to New Bedford." And she sells out at Carnegie Hall every time she's there. But she's going up to Boston. Eventually, you like to get her here, especially at the Zeitarian, or maybe into a festival along the grounds of the historic district or something, because her trio is unbelievable. She's playing all over the country, different parts of the world, and she wants to come to New Bedford. So,
Charlie, we should be capitalizing on anything that we have to offer, or the group, or things that we have to offer. Working with our tourism department, because that has to be, but a real comprehensive plan of action of 10 weeks in the city of New Bedford that just never dies.
Yeah, right.
It just never dies.
Yeah,
like Providence or something, right?
And you also want to make sure that it can be done safely.
Yep.
You want people to feel safe in this city. You want them to feel comfortable in the city. And that's why the men and women of the New Bedford Police Department go out there each and every day and fight the crime that is on our streets, and to try to make, but you have to set that atmosphere where people feel comfortable.
Right.
And you're not feeling that something could happen after dark. No, it is safe to come downtown after dark and do some shopping, dine out, have a few cocktails, maybe a little more venues where it's not so much the young people. Let them go out and enjoy themselves, but where we would like to listen to some nice soft jazz tonight, or some piano playing or whatever.
I love that idea with the park down there, like doing that music stuff.
Yes,
open at night.
Yes, and have those fire trees.
Yep.
Throughout the historical area.
Yep.
Of course, cover.
Yeah, I can't.
We're calling it our own.
I think that's a great idea. I think you should get on that.
We've been on it.
Yeah.
I like to see some other people just be more proactive on it. Yep. And I'm not the mayor of the city. I cannot put those orders out and get the right people in place. But you can come up with the ideas and look for people that are in place to at least consider this. At least consider this. Remember, any idea that comes, whether it comes from the public or it comes within the politics or whatever, if it's good for the city, let's go with it. Right. I have never been one to sit on that council and never block anyone or anything that's being proposed that I believe is going to be good for us in the long run.
Right. You know, you guys mentioned COVID. I do feel one of the positive things about COVID was the outdoor restaurants. You know, people moved outside, because I think that's awesome when you go downtown at night. There's 3 or 4 of them. I top of my head. New Beige, the one across the street in the corner.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, the one on that side street from Union. I can't think of the name. But
you want to see that for blocks. I want to get up into Purchase Street and see the same type of thing.
Right?
Yeah, the Whalers Tavern. Yeah, shut down like they do. I think that's an awesome idea.
I want to get into a little bit about the whole process of the city council. What's the difference between a council person at large and a council person?
A ward councilor.
A ward
councilor represent a certain area of the city, and what we have is 6 wards from the Sassaquin area down to the Fort Table, where we have 6 different ward councilors. So they run in that ward for the office. The councilor at large is a citywide office. It's always have been a 5-man or woman body that is elected, and then along with the 6 ward councilors, which comes up with a body of 11.
Okay.
What do we do if you're leaning towards how things are done? I think we had a conversation about that. When I first got onto the city council, one of the things that my first vote that I took was on a sewage treatment plant. And it was an investment of $2 million that was going to cost the people a lot of money. And I can remember going home that night not feeling so good, because I felt like that was my first vote that might have, is this right, or is it going to hurt people in the long run when it comes to the money part of it? And I can remember that night going and asking a couple of questions to a gentleman that was there. I can't remember his name. And he said to me, "Why don't you just go out there and vote for it?" And I went out the door, and then I returned to the City Hall annex, and I asked him, "Please don't ever talk to me like that again. You respect me. When I ask you a question, you answer it. If you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it, but you don't dog and pony me like I had no right to ask that.
Yeah.
Because I asked a lot of questions that I wasn't supposed to ask when I first got elected. You know, everything from where Housing 70 went. There was a lot of money in Housing 70 that was part of the historical district, where it was supposed to be revolving monies, that we got these houses, you refurbished them, but you had to pay back, and that money would keep revolving and taking care of it. I was a bad boy for asking about that, because maybe the monies did not go back where they were supposed to go back. I found out a few things that people weren't happy with when first got elected, that they weren't happy that were being asked. But I continue to ask, and I will always ask, because that is part of the job. It was like getting elected, and the first thing I did was take a bus tour of the city, and I think you remember that, Charlie, back in that day. And I think you're on at that time. And I get 2 buses out of Fairhaven with Mr. I forget his name, Korea, I think I want to say, who had that Eagle bus or whatever. And I put every public safety and senator and anybody on that bus, and I took them through the city of New Bedford, because I wanted to show them what the bads were, from the Fairhaven Bridge to the junk that was all over the place,
Yep.
to the north end, to some of our housing developments such as Evergreen at that time or whatever. I have colleagues like Mary Barrels, and them were with me. They wanted to know where we were going that day, and I would not tell them where we were going, because you're not going to clean up the neighborhood before I get there. Well Square, that's what they wanted to know. That they wanted
I
to
love
send
that.
them in before I got there. Well Square at that time was ran by prostitution, drug
Yeah.
dealing, criminal activity, while having some of the greatest businesses in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's Market, to the magazine store,
Oh,
and
yeah.
other things that were
Yeah.
in that area, the light store, and things that we still all use, the people that
Mhm.
lived here, but they had that cancer that was there that needed to be cleaned up. I went after that. I went after things like my name. It was said earlier that I might have my name on every cornerstone in this city. It's not the point of having my name on every cornerstone, but I addressed a lot of the issues that I thought that were somewhat degrading to the city of New Bedford. Even the condition of the Fairhaven Bridge, a simple thing. When that bridge got painted, I'm going to take some of the credit for it, because I'm the one that pushed that. And Rosemary went in there and tried to clean up this. You went in there and just wanted to clean up our city. It seemed like our city had been somewhat, as B was talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the history's okay. Let's leave everything okay, and we're going to be okay. No, we're not.
Yeah.
We got to grow with everything that else is that's growing. And at that time, all you had to do, and us young guys all know it, all of
Yep.
us that are sitting here, where's your first concert that you went to? If it wasn't in Boston, you went to Providence. And you remember when the Civic Center was first put there, it was just the Civic Center. The back parking lots, all that land was nothing but mud and rock, and where you park cars and they charge you for. What did that Civic Center do for downtown Providence? It's that one thing that you got to plant, and then everything started to come. And of course, if you got leadership with an open mind, a great imagination of what the future can be for the city, you start working and you turn out to things like we
Yeah.
did. I'm the guy, and it's funny that we're talking about this now. Fred Careless actually brought Buddy Cianci here to the city of New Bedford. It was Brian Gomes that just a year ago or months ago had said, I wanted to bring him here to show us what our city could be all about. Fred Careless ended up doing that, and Buddy Cianci actually came here on a night and traveled throughout the city and
Wow.
talked about how great this city is. There's a lot of history that they
Yeah.
also forget, and there's a lot of times when it's funny too, guys, that they'll talk about this one from the 90s or the early 2000s, and sometimes I sit back and reading these stories and I go, you didn't call me. I got a wealth of information for you, but
Yeah.
you didn't
Yeah.
call me.
Uh-huh.
But I can understand the reasons why, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I'll say you mentioned Buddy Cianci. Some people may not like him, but I think he built Providence to be a
You're
great,
darn right he
great
did.
city.
There's a lot of things we didn't like about Buddy Cianci, but Buddy Cianci is responsible for what Providence is today, and no one can take that away
Yeah.
from
So
him.
if you're going to ask anyone to come into the city and give you some advice or something,
Had a great imagination. He brought the water into the city.
Yep.
In areas or whatever, we could
Yeah.
have that kind of vision.
Yep.
We could have that kind of vision. And New Bedford used to be a very hot spot, gentlemen.
Oh yeah, it used to be.
A
yeah.
very hot spot.
If you know the history of like even celebrities coming here, that like this was the city where the Patriots used to come. Like I hear stories when New Edition was new when New used to come to the
I
city.
before I got elected, gentlemen, what also was a big part of my life was the Whaling City Festival.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
went to the Whaling City Festival as entertainment chairman. They asked me to be entertainment chairman. I asked them for $1,000. They looked at me like strange. What do you want $1,000 for? I want $1,000 because I want some T-shirts. I want some banners. I'm going to go into the TV stations and I'm going to tell them, would you like to be the official radio station or TV station of the Whaling City Festival? Gentlemen, that turned out to be a war between the Providence media markets, who ABC6 then at that time
Mhm.
did their news, did their dialing for
I remember that.
dollars,
Yep,
did
yep.
all that
I
stuff
remembered all
live
that.
from the city. At that time, Fun 107 had come along, but they're doing their thing or whatever. Pro FM is trying to fight to come in.
Yep.
Channel 12 is telling us they'll bring in what are them shows in the afternoon like General Hospital or whatever, them type of stars into the city
I
in
get
the
you.
afternoon. And I can tell you, the fun that I had working with Fun 107 in the beginning, bringing in groups like Lizette Mendez, Maki Mox, and the Funky Bunch.
yeah.
I had so many people here
Yeah.
on a Sunday afternoon. Charlie, I think, might even be working that night. We don't have enough police officers that
Yep.
we have to call for assistance by the state police. They are parking on 140 in the gullies at that time
Yeah.
to come to the Whaling
The
City
City
Festival.
Festival.
And we had blown the thing bigger than life.
Mhm.
Every major politician running for governor was coming in,
Yeah.
and it cost $1,000 to do that. And in conjunction with a lot of people, we turned the city upside down. I can remember the kids having such a great time
yeah.
in Button Park, and we used to estimate what was the damage after everything was done. Well, we had one unmarked car that had all kind of dents on it because the kids stood on it so that they could see the groups. Because if you remember, we had that big
That the
green
stage,
on
yep.
Rocktail Avenue
Yep.
with the stage set back,
Yep.
which also Tavares performed on.
Yep.
As a-
That's a childhood memory when they had Divide perform there, and it was like everybody just brought their chairs on
Yeah.
the grass and everything. It was amazing. It was
Lizette Mendez, to name a few. The guys that did that song, Bad Boys, what you gonna do when they they were here. And that was all just working with the radio stations, and $1,000 turned the Whaling City Festival into just somewhat was a local thing.
Mhm.
Once those ads started playing on Providence, it was a draw to the city of New Bedford.
Yeah.
Always think if just half, and you get half, you can go bigger.
Bigger.
You go bigger.
Yeah.
And it was great times, and it still is great times. You know, you see that some things, and let's just, if you don't mind, like to get into a little bit of the detail with the young people.
Yeah. Let's
When
get
I first got elected, I also was one of them that thought our schools were so important, and I wanted our kids to be nothing but the best. And maybe I was thinking like a senator or a bigger than who I was. And I'll give you the story. I wanted to put our kids in uniform in the city. I wanted to be the first city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
in the schools
that you wore a uniform to school in the schools. So we got rid of all that. You got better genes than me. You got this. I'm that. Blah blah blah. You know all that. We were getting our kids ready for success. We were getting ready, and I wanted to start it in the grammar schools first. I proposed the thing. We actually went to a school committee meeting that night, and of course, the good former political people taught me how to work the media. So I sent out a press release, and here came all the cameras that night. New Bedford, Massachusetts wants to be. Let's go. I often imagine what my city could be like today if I put my kids in a uniform, and what our kids could have been like, or whatever.
What made you like? Why do you feel like that was a good thing to do, to put kids
in a uniform? Because I seen how the uniform worked in the Catholic schools and in the other schools, and I just felt.
What did you see?
I seen the stabilization of kids doing what they had to do, respect, dignity, everything for each other. And that's what I wanted.
Because they're not comparing each other.
That's right. We're not
it's
comparing. Like we're all the same.
Okay, I understand.
It's like us all playing on that same team.
Yeah.
They announce us and we run onto that court tonight, or we run onto that field. We are a team, and we all wear the same uniform. New Bedford,
because kids can lose focus very easily when you're comparing, like, oh, if you have better shoes, better clothes. I mean, you take that element out of that, and then they can focus on actually learning.
That's right. That's
something simple like that.
That's right. And I wanted to take that right into their senior year. And when you got halfway into your senior year and you had accomplished everything that you had done in the senior year, it is now your right to wear what you want to come to this building for your last 3 or 4 months as you grow into this adult.
So you're creating a mindset of reality, because that's how it is in reality. A lot of kids are going into adulthood with that entitled mindset because they weren't taught in their younger adolescent years how to deal with everyone's equal. You know, you got to work to get to a certain standard and a certain entitlement.
Plus, it might help if with the inappropriate clothing. Like
Yes.
if everyone's wearing
Yes.
like the same thing, you
Yep.
wouldn't have the problem of, you know, oh my God.
And it wouldn't have been stuck so much to that, you know, how it was in the Catholic schools, as most of us remember, because I'm going to tell you, I'm just a young man and I want to go to one of them schools, because when you had a friend or whatever, but your parents couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it because it costs money for the uniform. It costs money to go to a school like that. And I just seen as a avenue that would have just took us somewhere with these kids that whatever. Now they brought up a lot of some of the issues where, well, how about for the families that can't afford it and they can't afford this and the uniform or whatever? We do just like we did when I was younger. You went down, couldn't afford the brand new shorts at Charlie's Sports Store and that high school shirt. You went down and you got a pair of used ones.
Yeah.
And we could have got that system
Working.
moving. Just as these kids go, we have girls go for gowns for a prom or whatever, because somebody takes them all on. We could have set that up in a way that if you couldn't afford it in the interim, your kid would still be able to get a uniform in some way to wear to school, and it would have been a growing experience. I believe it would have been a growing experience, because when me, you, and Derek got done with our uniforms, we turned them in. Our parents turned them.
We don't need them anymore.
No, we were getting bigger. We had to go into a bigger size. So you start making that stuff, and you know something. There's nothing to be ashamed of to take a handout or to be there to help another man or woman or another child. We have our kids and people feeling so much now that's not cool. You know, Charlie reached out to me and said, "Hey, Brian, got a couple of work jeans for you to go to that job with or whatever." It worked out. When we were younger, our parents did that, whether you know it or not. They did that almost with everything. They did that with everything, from B taking me, you, and Charlie over the house for dinner that he wasn't supposed to. You see how fast Mama could put some more potatoes in that soup and pick it up a little bit so that we all ate. And B, we be getting that look from the side of her eyes, like your butt is fine when you are done. All we had was half a loaf of bread with the butter, but that's okay because you brought over 3 nice gentlemen. And that's, it may sound philosophical, but that's where I come from, and that's where I like to put things sometimes. In general, like, and we can be who we want to be. We just got to put it all together. You talked earlier about people being together. We can have differences of opinion. Let's be cool and sit down. When we sit down, us four just sitting here could have 2 and 2, but if we sit down and keep discussing before we get up from this table, I bet you we got something concrete.
Oh, no question.
That's what I learned as a young person and as an American or whatever. You work at things and you come up with solutions. We're a great country for that. So when you put 4 heads together, the brains that we have in this room, you telling me we can't solve some problems? I believe we can.
And that's where I think we're missing that society today, that we're not talking to each other, because I believe, like, for me, I keep on saying on this show, I learn through conversation. You can read and everything like that, but that is one person teaching you one thing. If I'm getting a perspective of, like, there's a lot of things that you said that will be great for the city that I didn't even look at. I didn't even perceive that for the city. I'm like, that's a great idea. But would I get that just by me in my own clique, in my own bubble? No. But if I can learn from Derek, I can learn from you, I can learn from Charlie, I could through conversation, but people don't talk to each other anymore.
Exactly.
And we need to have, and sometimes these conversations are going to be uncomfortable because you may have to face your ignorance, you know?
That's right.
But that's okay, because you're learning through your ignorance. Sometimes you got to put your, how can I say, like, I know people don't like the word ignorant, but it is what it is. You got to put your ignorance out there to be taught a lesson. Be like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have thought that way. Maybe should I think that way? I didn't look at it that way.
You can come to the table with your thought, come with still a quarter of a mind open,
Yes.
because that feeling that may come from Derek or may come from Charlie on the perspective of what we're talking about may complete something that is
Mhm.
phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I didn't think about that like that
Mm-hmm.
until you said it. I
Mhm.
didn't think about what Derek said until he said it. Now
Yeah.
get something going on, and it's a beautiful world we live in. We're all here on a journey. Sometimes we wonder why the journey even takes us to the bad,
Mm-hmm.
but it's part of what our lives are, and where we'll be tomorrow, or where we're going. I believe that talking and discussing things, we can come up with resolution. It's that part that doesn't want to talk at all. It's that person that doesn't want to give you that moment to explain yourself. I've given you that moment to explain yourself, and I understand where you're coming, but please understand my side. We find it a lot, it's shut off right away. We don't want to hear you. I know, again, guys, you stop me anytime you want.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of protesting going on over the weekend
Yep.
about everything that is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you put this whole perspective in together, please sit down a minute and think and discuss what is being discussed and what is going on, because it is, some of it I believe is BS,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it is certainly trying to divide us
Mm-hmm.
when we should be all coming together. When I see older people out there with signs that say, don't take the Medicaid, don't do this to this, don't do that to that, and I know in my own head, wait a minute, he's not going to touch that, the man's not
Mhm.
going to touch that, so why are we beating that dead horse? Should be beating something else that may be going on, and but you're not, and also you're not educating yourself. And when I talk to people now, especially with the media,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the media, please open your eyes. Look at different media outlets.
Mhm.
Read this newspaper. But when you read that story, get on your phone and Google a little bit,
Mhm.
and look into something else and see what that is saying. Get a perspective
Yeah.
from everywhere before you come to your conclusion, because your conclusion based on what Brian said that wasn't the whole full truth
Mm-hmm.
may put you into a situation you don't want to be in later on.
Mm-hmm. And that's where ignorance comes involved. Now, ignorance, they look at it, perceive the word. It's a lack of knowledge, or lack of information. So it's not a bad word. I'm not like I like Derek always says, go, don't use that word. But
Because
I
some
use
people are insulted by it, I feel.
But I also want you to feel insulted to come back at me so I can have the conversation. It's almost a trigger word. I understand how people perceive it. I mean it in the definition of it, not how it's making you feel. But I know how it's gonna make you feel, and I want you to come back at me to create a conversation. It's like I feel like you got to push conversation out of people to have these discussions, because people like, we live in an age where I don't want to argue, but in my sense, if done respectfully, arguing is healthy, and that's what you learn through arguments. I'm sure when you're in on the city council room, you're arguing your different points to get policy created within the city. Am I correct saying that?
Yes, you are.
So what is wrong with arguing? Everybody has your city council representative is arguing for their ward, what they want in their ward. It's an argument. Some other city council people may not agree with their argument, but that's what you're there for, to learn and understand what is going on in your ward. I'm like, and then you get your support. But if you're not arguing, how do we get each other's support? And I think that's across the board in anything in life, that arguing is very healthy, but people don't want to, maybe because they don't want to see, damn, I was kind
And
of,
we're not saying arguing where we're at the point that we're screaming and yelling at each other and we look
that's
totally
fighting.
out of control.
Yes,
Whatever.
yes.
We're talking about good discussion.
There's good
Where I
discussion.
let you speak. You let me speak.
And you can speak passionate.
Rebuttal.
Yeah.
Rebuttal.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. You said 5 minutes ago that you get 4 people together, you can get a lot of stuff done. Completely agree with you. So in the last 34 years that you've been on the council, how do you find it? Where, I mean, has there been like ups and downs where you guys work together and you're getting a lot of shit done, or is there times where it's like, man, we can't seem to kind of get things going because there's too many people, like, not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You do have those times, and then you have the greatest times when you get it done, and it just feels so good
Yeah.
because you know it's in the affirmative for the people. This isn't about Brian Gomes. This isn't about the individuals. I don't care. It's not about Donald Trump. It's not about the governor of this Commonwealth or whatever. It is about the people. You have been given the opportunity as an elected official, as a leader, to lead, and you are also given that opportunity to govern. I've often used that word. If the administration is not governing, then I'm going to tell you about it.
Right.
You'll tell me that I should shut my mouth because I'm a legislator. No, I'm a leader, and I'm telling you this
Yep.
has to be governed in this way. It's a matter of people, again, just sitting down and bringing their thoughts and stuff together and coming away from the table with the best thought forward instead of the division that is going on. The division is so ailing to us and all. It's just not good, and it's a lot of waste of time. It's a lot of waste of energy where we could see that real energy coming together as a positive. And when we talked about putting like the kids in uniforms,
Mhm.
that would have drawn into a positive for the city of New Bedford, where I felt, I may be philosophical, but I felt that actually people would have wanted to come and live here.
Yeah.
Because I know that's how my kids are going to
Yeah.
go to school, and this is what's going to be done. When we have I just want to focus on our young people. We're talking about ourselves speaking. I would love to bring our young people together, and some of our stars in whether they're music, acting, or whatever, they have so much power and
Mhm.
so much influence on these kids. Why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? You're doing a concert. You can stop a concert. I've been at a concert where the band stopped the concert, and for some reason, it got led into look at the person to your right, look at the person to your left, look behind you, look in front of you. What do you see? You're seeing beautiful people. Shake hands, give a hug. He
Mhm.
brought that stadium together for a moment,
Yep.
and I've seen us all come together,
Mhm.
whether it was 9/11, when 9/11 happened. Do you
Nine-
remember driving the streets and seeing people waving flags and everything?
Mhm.
Boy, did I feel like a damn it, man. And there was no color problem. There was no, I can't.
It's not like that
It
anymore.
was all of us together. We
Yeah,
were standing
yeah,
together because
yeah.
nothing. And it was such a great feeling. You'd like to see that feeling all the time. With our young people, I really like to bring them together and tell them sometimes stop the nonsense of
Mhm.
some of the stuff that is argued about, some of the stuff that's drained or brought up in school, or the fighting and for nothing. She was looking at me. Maybe she was looking at you because your hair simply looked beautiful today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe he was looking at you, man, because he digs that jacket you got on.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to understand that people are not always looking for a problem. When my whole point is get our young people to know that the world is a better place when we're all getting along.
Mhm.
And sometimes you even want to run them films from everything from that football team. I can't think of the movie right now where it had
Titans?
blood. The Titans. Thank you very much.
Remember the
But
Titans.
I want to run that film every
Yeah,
year at the
yeah.
beginning of the year in an auditorium with all our.
Oh, I
students
used to
sitting
watch
there.
that movie 100 times,
Yes, you
boy.
can,
Yeah.
can't you? And the emotion runs through you, and
Mhm.
mama makes you get a tear in her
Yeah,
eye
yeah,
when what's his name knocks on that door and he's
Yeah.
a black boy and she
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
"Come on in, your
Yeah.
friends waiting to see you."
yeah.
You want young people to understand, yes, we do have problems, and yes, you're going to have idiots in the world that are going to do bullying and they're going to do that. But for most, our young people should be thriving together. Not separating with this racist thing and that, or the white people don't like me. How you know the white people don't like you?
Mm.
How do you know that? They didn't tell you that they didn't like you. Somebody
No.
told you that. You have to make that decision for your own.
Right.
And I've always made a decision when I meet an individual, it's not based on your color, it's based on you. It's based on your character. It's based on how you treat me and how our relationship grows. We can grow a relationship. I met a gentleman when I was just a young guy working for a cleaning company over in a Acushnet company, Plant A in Acushnet. I used to go in and have to clean the cafeterias and everything. It was a part-time job. This man sat there and he had every big newspaper you could think of, Boston Globe, Boston Herald, all the papers we like to get our hands on. And I walked over to the table and I said, could I look at your Boston Globe? Because I was excited that guy here. And he told me no. And I walked away from that table and I was bothered. I was bothered. He told me no. I walked out of that cafeteria and that bothered me all day. Why did that man do that? Why wouldn't he want to be willing to let me look at that newspaper that I can't afford? I can't, but he can. And all I want to do is look at it. Well, I came back the following day and I sat in that same cafeteria. And that same man said to me, "Hey, kid, come here. You take any newspaper you want." And maybe it was my actions that day. And maybe in some way, somehow, he flipped on whatever he was feeling or whatever he had, that he let me look at that newspaper. That man came my friend until the day that he passed away, just from a simple action like that. And I think that he realized what he had done to make me feel the way I felt, because I was feeling a little bit of,
And he saw that.
and he seen
He
that.
saw that in your body
And
language.
he flipped it the next day. And maybe for whatever he was looking at, it was a different experience. And could I have been that person that he had never dealt with, a person of color or someone of color coming to ask for something or whatever? But I believe I changed his life, because I believe he was a different man because of my actions. And also, you don't get violent. You just take.
So your reaction to an action can dictate a change in
No doubt
in life.
about it.
And that's, and it's sad that we live in a society that we have to be that way, but that it doesn't even have to be a black white thing. It just be a people thing.
Yep.
It's like your reaction is almost as important as the action. And if you reacted in a different way, maybe that he would have saw you in that light that he first saw you at. That's what I'm
Correct.
saying.
That's right.
So you handle that in a classy way. It may be it just, that empathy came into play, that human empathy, and it's like he had to correct himself and being like, hold on,
Hold
I'm
on.
the asshole in this
That's right.
equation.
That's right.
You know, I need to show a little bit of empathy. Like, why didn't I give him that paper? And, you know, you got, and it almost held a mirror to himself and changed his, like, you know, so the next day I'm gonna correct that. Do you feel empathy is not a big thing in society today?
Yep.
Simple. Yep.
Yep.
There's no, people don't have empathy for other people.
They're just not feeling it. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's from the bringing up or whatever, but they're just not feeling it. And we got to get it. You got to get it. It's part of a beautiful life when you have that. When you not having that in your life, I'm sorry, you're shortchanging yourself.
Yeah.
You're shortchanging yourself. And it's a big word with a lot of meaning
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of effect. That
It's because when I go into the booth and at politics, I don't vote with my pocket. I vote with my morals and my empathy. And I don't vote Democrat or Republican. I vote on the individual. And I try to assess a person's character or morals as best as I can, because I believe that if you have a politician in office that is too money driven, that it will affect the moral, empathetic aspect of what that job entails. Am I correct saying that?
you are correct in saying that. That's why we got people out there who run for office. They get elected and they keep driving in that money train.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Them cocktail parties. They keep on stacking it. Keep on stacking it. Let's get into 6 digits. Let me ask you, what did you do for the people?
Mm.
What did you do for the people? It's not about the money, but that's what it seems to be, because it's about the money. And it seems about, I heard the word used, so if I may, bullshit. The bullshit. Okay. And you get the money, and you've really done nothing. And then you run for a higher office because you got the money, and everybody's looking at you like, oh yeah, because it's almost
because you have the money, and money's a status. Then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, because he has the money and the status, let's vote for him. But he's not empathetic to your needs.
and he isn't, or she isn't
Is she?
really
Yes.
the good candidate,
Yes.
or the best candidate that should be going forward. But because they don't have the money or whatever, they're looked down. I hear this all the time in politics. You
Mhm.
know, when they're going through the fun. oh, he doesn't have enough money. How could he run for mayor? This one has 100,000, though. He can run for
Yeah,
mayor, but he's a jackass.
Yeah.
Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
He or she may be a jackass. They don't give a damn about the people of the city. They don't give a damn about anything else.
Mhm.
You look really at their records of what their accomplishments are, and there are none. And don't come play me when it's a certain day and it's a certain time or whatever. You play me every day. You have to play the city every day. And that's what I find that happens a lot out there. And so that's the person that rises to the top because
Yeah.
he's got the money.
Yeah.
And the best candidate
I don't.
doesn't have
I
money.
just like me with my with like how I go. But as I grow older, I look at the more money you have, the less I'm going to trust you, because we as human beings, we are flawed. Like I told you off air, we are flawed. You put that aspect of money in somebody, even though you may be a millionaire, you're going to want 2 million. If you got 2 million, you're going to want 3 million. And I believe someone who's a multi-billionaire, there's no way you could become a multi-billionaire without hurting people. I believe that. There's no way you could be a moral-based person and be a multi-billionaire. There's no way.
There had to be some hurt on the way
It
up.
had
And
to
it not necessarily didn't have to be intentionally.
intentional, but you
but
had
there
to hurt
was.
people.
That's right.
There's no way you become a multi-billionaire without hurting people. So that's why a more person that has more money, not that because I know you, but I know that more money you have, your focus in your is going to be your money, not the bottom line of having empathy of the person who you're hurting on the way up. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to politicians, I want to look at that moral characteristic, your moral character of you. And all right,
I have never been driven by the money.
Mhm.
All you have to do is look at my finance report. What the money that I've had and the money that I am able to raise or is contributed to me is I use very wisely in my donations and how I do it, what I do across the city. But I've never been driven by the money, and either have I used it as a tool. Where I have seen some in politics, they use it as a tool. You call me up there and you say, "Hey, my mom has a tree that's been banging up against the house, and I need to get that thing cut down." Or the sidewalk is cracked and people are tripping going by my house. So I get that stuff all fixed. I send you a nice note that I've gotten it fixed. But 3 months later, you receive in the mail a letter from my committee.
Yeah.
And my committee says, "We are holding a cocktail party on such and such a day at $50 a ticket. Would you?" Okay. You kind of feel a little obligated. It feels like a little dirty to me. I've never played that way. I have never sent letters out like that or done anything of the sort because I didn't think that was proper politics.
Yeah.
That it almost seems like
It's funny you
a
say
game.
that.
It seemed like a game. And you know what? Maybe being his lady or his wife does not attend cocktail parties. They don't have it, but all of a sudden he feels obligated because I fixed that tree, or I fixed that sidewalk. These kids can give me that $50, or it's going to happen with someone. I've never tried to. I never played that, and most of the time when I sit back and I think about fundraising, I don't know people that can throw $100 away every night. The more I know people that can. But I know more people that I represent, that I know that are like me and middle class America, just trying to make it every day, taking care
week by week.
Right. Do not have that kind of money to throw away.
Yep.
And politics should not be about kiddies that are $1 million so that I can threaten Charlie when Charlie decides he wants to run from there. He doesn't because he's so nervous about that 1.5 million that I got that I can beat him up with. That he doesn't have an opportunity. You have an opportunity.
It's funny that you say that because I perceive is like how politics works and just how Hope Park works. We pay taxes. We pay our property tax. We pay different taxes within the city, state, and federal. And I believe our taxes are made to the government to provide us citizens as services. That's what it's there for. Am I correct looking at it that way?
Yes.
We're paying these taxes to provide us a service. We're not paying you to make us money. We're paying you to provide us service because I feel like there's a lot of services or problems that the private sector can't and will not fix that the government will, and that's what we pay them to do so. Is that a correct way of looking at it?
I've always looked at taxes being paid, police, getting your trash picked up, the best schools that we can have,
Fire.
good streets, fire, EMS. Not necessarily in that order.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you pay your taxes for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you pay your taxes for. Have a clean neighborhood or whatever. You know how many people pay taxes and paying taxes right now and really don't get anything from it?
Anything from it?
They don't get anything. They get the city that they live in. They have them services. If they pick up the number 911,
Yep.
they'll have a police cruiser at the house or a fire car or the house. They'll get their trash picked up.
Mm-hmm.
They have no kids in school anymore, and it goes on and on.
Mm.
But they're still paying the taxes.
Mm.
What you're looking for is a city. I've often said, like, we can be out of town right now and say, where you guys from? We're from New Bedford. Ooh, you guys pay some hefty taxes down there.
Mhm.
Yes, we do. But I got the best schools.
Mm.
I got the best police department. I've got the best streets. I've got the best city services. I've got a city that takes care of my elderly, takes care of my young people. We never stop down there because we govern right and we spend the money right.
Mm-hmm. And that if that's the way it's running, people, I would think people be okay with that. I don't mind paying taxes if the services are being provided to me. That's what I'm paying for. So I ask you this: when I want to speak on like housing within the city, housing is going up. Housing is getting more expensive. We understand because of the market's going up because of this train. Is that right to be saying, or is it corporations coming into the city?
Nope.
Can you
Nope.
speak on it?
Nope. We've been hearing about this housing crisis that we have in the city at the present time.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear people talk about how we've got a strong effort of the housing, and we talked about that earlier. The housing that's going up downtown and here and there. But who is that housing for? Will that housing really address the homeless problem?
No.
No, it will not. No, it will not. No, it will not. We're making housing for those that will be able to afford it. Will be able. You might be given a couple of apartments at a subsidy that gives the opportunity for the a person to live there at with a raffle or however you do it, but it's not hitting the issue. The reason why we've got a housing problem in this city, and I've said it before, no one will address me on it. No one will attack me on it. It's very simple. Our city was a haven for illegals to come. They have absorbed a lot of the housing. They have absorbed a lot of the housing. Travel the neighborhoods with me. I've challenged this. I've told people, travel the neighborhoods with me. You see how the dynamics of the neighborhood have changed. Now, I'm not, let me say this. I have no problem with coming to our country, but you got to do it the right way. Second of all, don't lie to the people telling them that the housing is being taken up because they're moving from Brockton this way, they're moving from Boston this way, because this has happened all over the country and all over the place. This housing thing has happened and it's been absorbed because we didn't have enough housing to go to the illegals. And a lot of our others were forced out. We're forced out because, see, I can tell you that I'm going to charge you $1,600 for rent.
Mm-hmm.
But I got 6-8 people living in that apartment. $1,600 in rent. You know how many people we drove out of the house that we're paying like $600-800 about? All of a sudden, here came that new owner who went up to $1,600.
Yeah.
I heard it from these elderly people. I heard it. I want
But
to
see-
I just want to clear
Okay.
the air B on something. I don't
Okay.
want you to think that I am against people coming to our country.
Yeah.
You can come to our country, but I come from a Cape Verdean descent.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I'm sitting in a room of immigrants somewhere down
No
the
question.
line.
No question.
Think about it. Think about it.
No
Think
question.
about how hard it was for grandma or this one or that one that came here and left others back in the old country before they came here. Had to have sponsors before you came here.
Yep.
Had to have a place to stay before you came here. You just didn't come, and it was a free-for-all that is going on right now. Right now in the city of New Bedford, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I'm not very well liked because of my comments, because I seem to be leaning towards the left. But let me tell you something. I got $450 million to give illegals Class A hotel rooms, $67 to eat a
Mhm.
day. And I've got people all over downtown that are homeless. I find people, see, my job is not only to govern when in City Hall. I've always taken my job seriously. I'll go into any neighborhood, any place. Again, I'll always refer to Charlie, because Charlie was a great police officer in the city of New Bedford that I
Thank you.
recognized
Thank you.
that of how he did his thing. He was very kind to people. He was a showman when he did his job. And then we've got many others out there that do that job just like that. And that's how you're supposed to do the job. But what we have in our city is that I lost my train of thought where we were going with this.
The housing.
The housing is that we cannot do for our own, but we're doing for others, and our own are suffering. This opiate thing, when it came along, this Councilor Gomes is one of the first ones in the city to jump on this and say that it's the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies that should be held accountable, and we should go after. You know what they said? Gomes is grandstanding again.
Yeah.
Gomes is grandstanding again. No, I'm not grandstanding. I see the sick out there, and it's affecting all of us because I got 4 men sitting in this room. I bet you can close your eyes right now and you see somebody that was affected, whether it was a family member or a friend or whatever, and you just seen this come along, and it was all about the money, and nobody was about to stop
I
it.
agree.
It was about the money. So let's keep it flowing. Okay. So back to the housing. I can't take care of my own, but I'm giving all of this away. I must take care of my own first. I shouldn't.
But who is making because this is because what I see is like, for an example, I'll give you an example, because you talk about the money and we got to go after the people that they're doing it because the doctors are pharmaceutical companies and everything like that. So going to housing with that same mindset, like my mother put me in a trust with her home that she owns here, right? All of a sudden, I'm getting calls from all these corporations want to buy this home. You know what I'm saying? Now, I believe that's part of the problem, that you have these corporations are buying up homes, and when they buy these homes, because they're gonna sell it for, they're gonna buy it for, over cost what is assets by, and then they're gonna raise the rent, where people like us in our city have to move out because we can't afford it. That's part of the problem. Right. So when you have an illegal coming in, yeah, there's 8 people in there, but those are the only people that can afford it because they're getting 8 different incomes coming in. Now I look at it this way: who's hiring these people? Why is it legal to hire an illegal immigrant?
That's all bigger than all of us. It's all bigger than all of us. That's why I'm I was saying to you that I think even the governor's not too happy with me and with some of my statements that I have made, because it's how I feel. And what's happening is that we're driving people out of these houses because of the higher rents and these corporations or these big wigs that can come along and buy this or whatever. But when them people are driven out of them houses, they've got so much dignity and pride. They don't ask for anything. Some of them don't even go to a family member. You don't even know. I'm picking up the phone and talking to you every day, and you're asking me, is your brother, you okay? And I'm telling you, yeah, I'm okay and everything. But you don't even know that I'm sleeping up on King's Highway way in the back in a car where you can find the windows all steamed up and there's a family in there or there's kids in there. For me, as a leader of this city, I find that heart-wrenching. I get a house to go home to every night. So that's why we sometimes, when I talk about a journey or I talk about where we come, we should be really grateful. I'm very grateful for what I have. I drive through the city as an elected official and I see hurt. I see hurt that bothers me, where you want to do something about it right away, but it's not in your power. I'm sure you've seen it. Any of us that have any human dignity in ourselves, we see things that we want to address right away, or you want to give that assistance to, but they can't get that assistance. So back to the housing, which you were saying, how come I can't give that family that was driven out with that $800 rent they originally paying, now they want $1,600 to $1,800? Why can't I subsidize them people for home until they get their feet on the ground?
Thank you.
Why can't I?
Thank you.
It's funny that I'm not. Huh?
Why can't you though?
Why can't?
Like because I believe because
the money didn't come down that road with them.
But why? Like I believe that I know we have, and I believe we have a immigration problem where you have illegals coming in. But I don't believe we can't fix it from the outside in. It got to be the inside out. I believe that they're coming here for a better life. We know that, right? We all hear from immigrants, right? They're coming here to get jobs. They're getting jobs from who? Like if you make it, let's say,
extreme, them jobs.
That's my point. It's the same exact people are complaining about these immigrants. It's almost like it's modern day slavery. in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
So it's like you would limit if you hold those people accountable, those companies accountable for hiring illegal immigrants instead of our own people, our own citizens. It's almost like supply and demand. They're not coming over here if they don't have jobs to come to because they're coming for a better life. So it's almost like we are our own detriment. We're not looking at ourselves in the mirror and being like, you know something? We got to hold these companies that's hiring these people illegally because they shouldn't be able to get jobs in this country not being a U.S. citizen.
Sometimes they have fake papers, though, I feel.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
We know that has gone on. We had shops.
it's the system.
It's the system itself. And the system itself, gentlemen, does not always tell us the truth. It doesn't tell. They'll make the story, about we had 100 illegals come into the city of New Bedford last night, blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. But you didn't tell us the real story. Why? How come they came here? Why did they come here? What are they looking for? It's not there. It's not there. It's just like the push into the fabric of the city of New Bedford, and we've got no idea what we're taking on. We really have no idea what we're taking on.
But where are these illegals getting this information from that they're able to come here and they could get when we give them services though?
Well, when you go to the country and you tell them that the gate is open and let's go, that's what happens.
There was an
That's
app.
what happened.
There was an app.
It was they did it. They did it. And probably after this podcast, some people be looking for my butt, but that's okay because I'm going to tell the truth, and I've said the truth. And the funniest thing is when we talk like this, have this type of conversation, there's no rebuttal from that outside that supports all that other bullshit. You understand? It supports them that money for dinners and $67 to eat at night and Class A hotels. And I got a family and a mother in a car. Or I find an old lady that's living in a car and she still works her job. And these conversations just break out with me in a simple store where I'm having a conversation and then the lady, and she starts talking and she says, I'm living out of my car. And I look at that person and say, that could be my grandmother.
Right.
That could be my grandmother. Then you go out and you get in your car and you see this car packed with goods. And you try to even help this lady with a simple gesture. And she says, no. Give that to someone who needs it more. But I need help for housing right now. I'm just looking to get a roof over my head.
So what is the benefit of having these illegals come into the city or this country in general? What is the benefit for the people allowing them to come in here and giving them these resources?
There's a few benefits. We're doing the slave labor, of course. They're doing some of the jobs that we as Americans will not step up and do. And don't tell me that Cape Verdeans or white people don't know how to cut fish, because when I'm a kid, them Cape Verdean and white people are cutting fish down in
so it's low
They're
paying.
doing the landscaping, and a lot of them jobs are not low paying. A lot of them jobs,
but they're paying them low.
Right. But I'm saying that you can make a decent wage from them jobs if
no question
places are in place. But when you see that coming like that, of course you're going to abuse it.
Yeah,
we hear it every day that we find out that.
So where's the problem,
abusing.
Brian? Is it us? I think it's us.
It's not us. It's the people who run things. They like it that way, and it will stay that way until
they benefit from it.
Because they benefit from it, and until they get exposed. When they get exposed, all of a sudden here come the action. And remember, that action will happen for a day, or two, blah blah blah.
Till we lose our stamina to keep an eye on it,
and then it goes right back to
I mean, you want to talk about politics? You mentioned like the $65 a plate or whatever, right? Right. These people in the fish houses or whatever, when they donate to certain political machines, it keeps people quiet, keeps politicians quiet from maybe shutting something like that down.
Right.
So
that's right. Oh, that check makes magic in politics.
That's right.
That check can make magic.
This
I would never, and I'll say it to you, gentlemen, I have never sold out my city, my people, for no damn check.
Yep.
No $100. I'm not selling out for $100. I'm not protecting you as a business owner for your $200 donation or whatever. I'm here and you're supporting me because you believe in good government. And it's just that.
As a politician, you shouldn't have to say that. The fact that you have to say that it goes back to my point. The more money you have, the less I'm going to trust you. Because you're going to be about that dollar. It don't impress me that people have millions of dollars. Just because you have millions of dollars don't mean you're the smartest person in this room. goes, you might be the immoralist person in this room. And the fact that you as a politician have to say that to show your empathy and your character is a problem, because we shouldn't have politicians have to, because you're a public servant serving the public. That's the job states. Some people are going into this position for the power and the money.
And to serve themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
To serve themselves. On the facade, it's all rah, rah, rah. He's the greatest. He's the man. Or she's the man. Behind that facade, take that mask off. They're the devil in disguise, because they're not doing nothing for us.
Yeah.
They are not doing nothing for us. They are just making off on the system. That's why I'm blown away right now when I'm seeing people who, whether they come into Congress, whether they come into just the Senate in Massachusetts, and I'm just a regular guy that came in. But when I leave, I got 3 houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
$20 million.
Yeah, I got $2 million.
But where's that money coming from?
Where did that money come from? That's right. Where did that money come from? On a salary that I was only making $1.55 when I first started, or $1.35.
That's
Where
why.
did all that
Now,
come from?
I want to. I'm educating myself.
Do you
having this
realize that
conversation.
some of these politicians, with all their millions and stuff in their pocket, in them accounts, when they walk away,
Mhm.
that money's there for them to play with as they want?
With that people that donate, you're saying?
That's right. That money is
The
there.
war
They
chest?
can't spend it. That war chest cannot be spent like on furniture for my house or whatever. But it can entertain me, can it?
Yeah.
When I go to your 150th on the LA restaurants that you have, and this,
You write it off as that as
and
a
that,
as a
and
as
yeah,
a,
that's what it's all about.
an
And they're
expense
sitting
of.
on all that money. Maybe we should force them not to be able to sit on that money, and we'll see how
Yeah,
fast they start
It's the
spending that
system.
money
Yeah.
and giving that money to different organizations that could use that money. Do you know how many people that have the power and have the money, and they do not assist in any way? They do not assist for any way. Oh, you can look at some of these politicians. See what they donated, what comes up on it, and at the money you make, and that's all you could.
So
I
people
mean,
can understand. It's almost like say if you don't have to pay for groceries anymore. Say, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Week after week. You know how much money you're gonna save
Yeah.
each year?
So you don't.
Now that's on a smaller scale.
You don't have to pay for gas anymore.
Yeah, you don't have
'cause
to
they
pay
give
gas,
you
yeah.
that money back.
You don't have to pay to go out to eat. You know what I'm saying? Because I could go to a nice restaurant for $300, and if I could do that every week, enjoy the fine things of life, not spend my own money, and my money is going to sit there and make money, like that's how millionaires are built.
And that's the more, I think the more the money plays into it, the more you we forget the reality of the purpose of why you're there
Yes.
and what you're supposed to be doing. It's all focused like more about you.
But Brian,
you
we
know
are
what I
human
mean?
beings. Like I said, if you have $1 million, you're gonna want 2 million. So I believe it's us. We need to have a system that I don't think it was ever gonna change because so many people are benefiting from it. A system where it's almost like we have, like what Biggie says, you're watching lawyers watch lawyers so you won't go broke. And we're developing systems where we don't have those. Now everybody's just making money, and there's nobody watching anybody to do it the most moralist way and be a public servant.
The one thing I'd wanted to hear from Brian, and I forgot to ask earlier. I don't mean to change the subject.
No, go ahead.
But who inspired you to go into politics?
I was inspired to go into politics, as I said earlier, Charlie, maybe I didn't get into detail, is working in politics, supporting different candidates, believing that those people were bigger than just the city councilor, that they would resonate to representative, maybe governor or whatever. Just what was told in the beginning of what they were going to do did not come to reality after they got elected. That's what really drove me to want to run for office, because I seen that certain people were not doing what they were supposed to, what they had intended, or what they told the people that they were going to do originally. This job as an elected official leader is to govern, set laws. When I say govern, is also to make things better for people. I can't just sit back when there's a problem at King Village with the senior citizens. Some would say again, you're grandstanding, you're standing in the way, you're calling out these companies. Yeah, I am calling out them companies because those people are seniors in their last days and their relaxing days when they get homes like this and they've gotten rid of their property and the kids are going on their way. They're supposed to live in good conditions, not bad conditions. They're not supposed to be threatened in any way. The government messed up when we started allowing our younger people to mix in our senior citizen places. We already have seniors that can go at it with each other and have that problem. Never mind bringing the young thing in and change it. I know I'm jumping off on I felt in government that the government should have never done that. They should have never done that. And again, you're elected, and the job of being an elected official is to, of course, to govern, do legislate laws, but the job is bigger than that. The job is bigger than that. You must be a voice for those less fortunate, those that don't have a voice. I'm the first guy to say in City Hall when people came before, this is the people's house. And it's very rewarding when you even hear it on the news from Washington to Boston. This is the people's house. Because I never heard that until I said this is the people's house, because it is the people's house.
No question.
And when you come before that city council, you shouldn't stand or any mayor or anybody and shake and be, I'm so nervous to talk to you. No. They work for you.
Yes.
We work for you. This is all yours. This is your house. Don't you be nervous to come into your house of government and tell me that you don't like how something is being done or you want some assistance and feel that the city should be stepping up its effort to make it happen or whatever. There's nothing you should be nervous about. This is your government. This government isn't their government. And then share with the people.
Amen.
All right, we got to end it right there. So this is how we end everything.
Is this the end? I gotta know. I gotta know. I gotta know. Is this the end?
This is the end of another episode of the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. We are here with our special guest, Ryan K. Gomes, City Council person of New Bedford. Last thoughts. We'll let you lead with the last thoughts. How'd you feel about coming on this show?
I really enjoyed myself. This was very relaxing, and thank you very much, gentlemen. This is one of the best broadcasts I've ever done because I felt comfortable from the time I sat here. And as I said to you earlier, I love the challenge of being asked the questions, answer it to the best of my abilities. It may not be what everybody wants to hear, but that's who I am all about. I've got a great love for my city, and let's do this again.
Yeah, we'll do
this.
This
Was
definitely.
a lot of fun, and I wish the station and you gentlemen the best of luck. Let's keep on pushing forward. Let's make New Bedford work again. Let's make the station work even more into helping the people of the city. Informational. I think this is great. I think this is really
thank you for coming. We appreciate
glad that you and Charlie and Derek have all taken this ride along with the radio broadcast in the morning. This is just a great ride that you guys are on, and I believe that this ride is going to get bigger and better. And maybe one day I might be able to be part of it.
Yes. Derek, what's your last words, man?
Yeah, so you're definitely gonna have to come on because I have questions that I get to answer because you're a great interview. You love to talk. It's great. So you're gonna have to come on and continue it.
Glad to come on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Charlie, what you got? Anything else to say?
Great show. I'm proud of this and this interview, especially having Brian here and you guys. It's a plus as you heard, as we seen on our social media. We can do this again.
Yes. Again, Brian, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I like the back and forth, and again, I hear the passion, and your love for the city, and I appreciate you. I think that you embody what New Bedford is. We may agree or disagree. That's okay. But this is what the show is all about, to have people that in your position to come on the show and make that argument, and how you look at it. There's a lot of things I've learned. I didn't look at it. I look at it at the city as a totally different light, coming from the ideas that, you shared that, could be possible if we all come together. So I want to say thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity, and gentlemen, take this with you. Do your job. Ask the hard questions. Get the hard answers from us. Don't come in here and pat Brian on the back. Ask me the tough questions. We're going to answer them. Conversation is a beautiful thing, and we learn from each other. And I've learned this evening, and it's a great thing.
All right, thank you. You'll be back. You bet back on. We'll have you back on, definitely.
Great show.
Again, we're gonna take next week off, but we'll be back the following week. Do we have Are we having? They haven't confirmed yet as far as Rob and Derek.
No, not yet.
No, Rob and
Rob
Dave.
David.
All right. But we'll be back. We'll have another guest. So me and Derek and Charlie be having another deep conversations. I want to thank all our listeners and watchers on Facebook and on WMB1 Radio. If you're watching on Facebook Live, please download the WMB1 Radio app, so you can listen wherever you are at. I want to thank all this again, and we are